Greetings, friends. Tonight, I invite you to join me on a journey unlike any other. It is the account of my own travels through distant kingdoms and across vast, unfamiliar lands. I am Marco Polo, and what I witnessed beyond the borders of Europe, in the great courts of the East and along the ancient trade routes, is a tale of wonders, hardships, and discoveries few could imagine. If these stories of far-off places stir your curiosity, I welcome you to follow along, but only if you truly wish to see the world as I have seen it. And tell me, from where do you watch? At what hour does this tale find you? It brings me joy to know my words reach across lands and seas. So, settle in, dim the lanterns, and let the quiet of the night guide us, as together we begin this voyage. The sky is still more night than morning when I step from the canvas shelter and taste the wind from the sea. It smells of warm salt, old rope, and the faint sour reek of fish left on the shore to dry. Behind me, the camp is only a scatter of dark shapes on pale sand, rolled mats, water jars, sweating in the cool air, the hump of father's cloak where he still sleeps. Hassan, our new guide, moves among them with a leather bottle, offering a short drink before the sun climbs. He hums an old tune, 3 notes up, 1 down, again and again, as steady as the waves. The sound settles my nerves more than any prayer could. Father stirs, sits up, rubs his eyes, and smiles when he sees me. A thin spark glows, then catches a tuft of dry grass. Flame rolls out, small and steady. Over the flame he sets a tiny copper pot. Soon the smell of cardamom coffee will rise, sweet and thick, and the day will officially begin. He does not speak. Words seem too loud for this hour. Beyond the dunes lies the road to Kerman, and beyond Kerman the empty, burning salt, where no bird will guide us. I draw one long breath of the sea, then turn toward the rising light. The stone radiates yesterday's heat, but it is shade all the same. Uncle sets a cloth and pours dates, goat cheese, and a single skin of pomegranate water for the 3 of us. The liquid tastes both sweet and sour, vivid as ruby dust on my tongue. We speak little. Conserving breath seems wiser than conversation. The desert awaits, but in this quiet moment between tide and sun, I feel ready. The path climbs subtle ridges, each rise revealing a wider emptiness beyond. The air has cooled. A faint breeze carries a scent like iron. Camels rise, tent folds away, coals are buried. As we set off, I glance east. The horizon wears a band of rose, promising another furnace day. Yet above that band hangs a single pale star, refusing to fade. It feels like a sign meant just for me, though I do not know its message. I store the image in memory's pouch beside the shell from the Gulf. One day, perhaps, I will empty that pouch and understand what these tokens tried to tell me. I look up. The stallion has walked halfway across the sky. Kerman, then, is closer. I smile, wrap my cloak tighter, and settle back onto the mat. The stones beneath me are hard, but I welcome their firmness. It reminds me the road is real, not a fever vision, and that each mile hard or easy lays another stone in the invisible bridge between who I was and who I must become. I mark progress by ruined milestones, broken pillars carved with half-erased Kufic letters. Hassan translates one. Allah is the opener of paths. I trace the grooves with a fingertip and wonder how many travelers carried those words like water in the mind. One animal moans, deep and low. The sound sinks into the stony ground and seems to vibrate beneath my spine. I close my eyes and picture Venice again, but the city feels softer now, edges blunted by distance. In its place rises a mosaic of new images, salt flashing under sun, pillars of forgotten script, and the endless sky stitched with constellations I have only tonight learned to name. I place my hand on the nearest camel's neck. Its coarse hair is cool and damp with morning dew. Hassan whistles low. The herd freezes, ears pricked, then vanishes in a puff of dust. They smell us, he says. I envy their freedom, yet know they pay for it with endless motion and the constant search for water. The animal turns its long face toward me. In its dark eyes, I see no plan, only acceptance. Father and uncle pitch the small tent while I help Hassan gather brush for a cook fire. Hassan teaches me to read the stallion, a curved line of 5 bright stars that always points to the northeast. Follow his nose, he says, and you find Kerman. I practice until the pattern fixes in memory. The wood burns fast, snapping bright sparks into the purple twilight. Hassan stews lentils with dried lime and a pinch of saffron. The spice blooms in the pot, painting steam the color of dawn. I eat slowly, letting each bite linger so I can imagine Venice markets and their showy mounds of spice. Though I doubt any merchant there knows how true desert hunger gives flavor a new kingdom. Step forward, chew, breathe, repeat, a lesson in patience. Instead, he lifts 2 fingers in greeting, the simple sign we use on the trail. I return it and feel a soft warmth behind my ribs. Whatever happens ahead, we are together in it. Beneath our sandals, the sand gives way to chalky soil scattered with splinters of pink quartz. Dust hangs motionless, and every sound, hoof, creak, breath seems wrapped in felt. Father breaks the hush by humming a hymn from St. Mark's. The familiar melody comforts me, until a sudden crack like a split plank echoes off a distant ridge. We all freeze. Hassan smiles. Salt flour, he explains, ground snapping in the heat. A reminder that the earth itself can speak here. The camels groan, lean forward, and the long caravan snake begins to uncoil along the path that locals call the Ridge of Bones. I ask Hassan about the name, because any man who wanders from it dries into one, he says with no hint of jest. He touches the amulet at his throat and nudges his mount ahead. A dying fire sends up one thin ribbon of gray smoke that folds itself into the darkness and is lost. I walk toward the tide line. I spit and feel foolish, but the brine wakes my mouth and clears the taste of last night's date bread. The beach is littered with thin white shells, each one a small curled ear. I choose a perfect shell, no cracks, and slide it into the leather pouch at my belt. It will be my reminder of this edge, this point where sea ends and land begins again. Tiny waves slap the shore with the sound of 2 hands meeting, gentle and even. Farther out, the Persian Gulf lies smooth as hammered pewter. It seems impossible that such a small blade of color will soon cut the whole world open, yet I know it will. That thought reminds me how little force great change needs. A single order from the Khan has called us halfway across the earth. A single wind shift can scatter a fleet. A single cracked waterskin may decide if a man crosses the desert or ends in it. No sail moves on it yet, but 3 anchor lamps mark the spot where yesterday's pearl divers moored their dhows. Each lamp is a single orange pin, trembling on the flat water. I watch them flicker and try to feel what the day will bring. Behind the low dunes, our camels grumble, a soft bubbling growl that rises and falls like water in a pot. On the horizon, the first line of blue light appears, so thin I could pinch it between finger and thumb. I bend, scoop a handful of the Gulf, and taste the water. It is sharp on my tongue, like licking a coin. The sky lightens. Colors bloom in quick layers, deep violet, indigo, washed blue, and then a faint gold that paints the dunes and the camel packs. Uncle Mafio kneels by the fire pit, blowing on the last coals. A gull cries overhead. It circles once and glides inland, as if showing us the way. Behind us, the Gulf already forgets we were ever here, wiping our footprints clean with each small wave. The first steps inland feel like leaving one world for another. By mid-morning, the Gulf wind dies behind us. Air thickens. The horizon shimmers like beaten copper. At noon, we halt in the meager shade of a rock ledge. When the sun tilts west, we walk again. Near dusk, a herd of wild asses appears on a far slope, gray silhouettes against the blood-orange sky. We camp beside a dry riverbed floored with round white stones. Night settles hard and clear. Stars crowd every corner of the sky, leaving no room for darkness to hide. We unroll mats. Just before sleep, the camels kneel. Their shadows stretch long as ships' masts in the firelight. I wake once in the small hours to drink. At first, gray light Hassan calls the camp to life with 3 sharp claps. We step forward. Sand crunches, leather creaks, breath clouds, then fades. The ridge of bones leads on silent, certain, waiting to test our will. Our guide, Hassan, kneels, picks one up, holds it to the light. Turquoise, he says, as if naming a friend. The city drinks it from the mountain and bleeds it into every trade. Water arcs from 4 copper pipes shaped like leaping fish and falls with a hush that cools the entire space. The desert does not wait, he says. He lays thin slabs of turquoise on feltsam blue as glacier ice, others green as cypress needles. The smith's arms are striped with scars from sparks. His smile is whole and easy. Miners, mostly boys, crawl along the ledges, chipping veins from the rock with iron picks. Their hammers sound like distant rain. The bazaar drums shut. Wooden doors slam like lids on treasure chests. Street dogs weave through closing stalls, searching for dropped raisins. The loot, he says. No wells. 3 days between shade. 2 nights, too cold for sand fleas. He smiles, as if that last fact counts as comfort. Father studies the distances, nods, and signs a prayer in the air. The city gates yawn open. As we pass beneath their shadow, I look back once. The rising sun strikes 100 hidden shards of turquoise embedded in the walls, and for a heartbeat, Kerman glitters like a city forged from daylight itself. Then the gates close behind us, and the desert wind swallows the sound. I trace the route with a fingertip. The leather feels warm, almost alive, as if it remembers every journey traced upon it. We leave the gate at the first gray hint of dawn. No rooster crows here. Only the hiss of wind slipping between rock faces announces morning. Hassan leads the line, silhouette tall, atop his dappled camel. He carries a yard-long staff, capped with a strip of white cloth that catches what little light exists, our moving lighthouse. Father rides to beasts behind him, muttering prayers beneath his breath. Uncle checks every knot of every pack yet again. I follow and feel the city falling away with every measured sway of the saddle. A blind singer outside the mosque recites verses in a voice thin as reed flute. 2 miles more, and even clay surrenders to a crust of salt that cracks like thin ice under the camel's padded feet. Each crack pops with a dry clap, echoing across emptiness so wide it seems to have swallowed sound itself. The horizon melts into the sky in every direction, a blank silver rim. It is like sailing on a motionless Sino shore. No wave, only glare. My pallet rests beside a cedar chest filled with spare tunics. The air thickens until it feels like hot oil sliding into our lungs. Hassan signals a halt under a low sandstone outcrop, the only thumb of shade for miles. We crowd beneath, 7 men and 5 camels, sharing a ribbon of cool barely wider than my cloak. Uncle unfurls a oiled cloth awning and pegs it with iron stakes, extending the shelter just enough that we can sit without touching the stone. Sweat drips from my brow and lands on the ground where it sizzles and dries to white dust almost before it settles. I close my fingers and make a silent vow that I will carry this fragment of sky all the way to the great Khan escort, and that one day I will bring it home, proof that the world is wider and brighter than any shuttered window might suggest. I lay awake a while, listening to Uncle's soft snores and Father's slower breaths. Somewhere outside, a guard taps iron against stone for rhythmic beats. Hassan told me each set of beats marks another hour lost or won. I picture the stallion walking across the dark sky above us, even though I cannot see him. His empty bowl holds 3 coins and a single turquoise chip that catches the last light and seems to burn from within. Every so often, a foreman blows a horn. The workers freeze, listening for cracks that might signal a slide. Enough to sweeten every mile until Merv, he says. Uncle counts water skins, 23 in all, then marks a tally on the inside of the tent with charcoal. We drink by the tally, he says. No exceptions. None comes. Work resumes. Hassan explains that the mine has its own guardian spirit, a woman dressed in blue silk, who appears only to those who steal. She shows them a mirror, he says, and in the glass they see what the desert will do to their bones. He shrugs, so no one steals. He fits new iron shoes to our camels, driving nails with a mallet the size of a child's head. The animals groan but do not kick. Their hooves soft from salt flats must be hardened for the stone deserts ahead. When the work is done, the smith bathes each foot in a trough of cool brine. Steam rises. It smells of iron and seaweed. Father chooses a handful to trade in Cathay. The jeweler weighs each piece on a scale, so fine a single ant could tilt it. Coins change hands. He slips the stones into a goatskin pouch and seals it with clay impressed by a seal that shows a bird swallowing a snake. For luck, he says. We follow him into the chaos of the grand bazaar. Vaulted lanes lit by holes in the roof that grow bright, then dim, then bright again as clouds pass. Vendors sit cross-legged on wooden platforms, their wares arranged in precise circles: figs, raisins, saffron, turmeric in silk bags, slabs of salt, so pure they glow. A coppersmith hammers a basin. Each blow releases the scent of warm metal. Sparks leap like fireflies and die in the dust. After days of parched silence, the sound is a lullaby. I wash dust from my face and watch the fountain's drops explode into rings, one inside another, concentric stories vanishing before they finish. I roll the pebble between thumb and forefinger, cool, smooth, lighter than I expect. It feels like a drop of morning, frozen in mineral. When we move on, the flecks grow thick as hailstones. Soon whole boulders show veins of blue, and the distant hills glimmer as though the dawn has chosen to live inside them. We follow because there is no other path, and because somewhere beyond heat and hunger lies the court of the great Khan, and beyond even that lies the return road home, lined with stories no man in Venice yet dreams exist. Kerman reveals itself first by color. Tiny flecks of sky blue stone scatter across the track like crumbs left to guide pilgrims. We enter the north gate at noon. Sunlight bounces in waves from whitewashed walls, but the streets lie in narrow shade. High mud brick houses lean inwards, their overhanging balconies nearly touching. The air smells of roasting pistachios and forge smoke. Hammer strikes ring like bells, sharp, regular, confident. Hassan leads us to a caravanserai whose wooden doors wear patterns of 8-point stars carved so deep I can fit a finger inside each groove. A small boy opens the gate. His eyes widen at the sight of Europeans. He bows twice, unsure of the correct number, and ushers us into a courtyard tiled with sandstone the color of fresh bread. Uncle arranges for stalls and feed. Father secures a room overlooking the fountain. Hassan insists we waste no time. We stop at a jeweler whose beard is divided into 3 braids. Next, we visit the smithy. The forge burns charcoal so hot the air shimmers like water above a kettle. In the late afternoon, Hassan leads us beyond the city walls to the turquoise mine itself. The slope is cut with terraces like giant steps. We ride back through a dusk the color of dried apricot. Over supper in the caravanserai, Father spreads our new supplies on a mat. Sun-dried dates, bricks of tea, balls of pressed cheese wrapped in waxed cloth, 2 jars of rose water, and 1 small keg of linden honey. Hassan joins us with a map painted on lambskin. He points with a twig dipped in ink. A black line twists northeast across a blank yellow wash. We sleep early. A breeze wafts through the lattice window, carrying jasmine and the distant murmur of a lute. Just before sleep finds me, I press the turquoise pebble from the road into my palm. It warms quickly, storing the heat of my blood. When morning comes, water jars are filled, saddlebags cinched, and the caravan lines up in the pale blush before sunrise. The air beyond Kerman tastes like copper and chalk, sharp on the tongue, as if the earth itself has been ground to powder. Within a mile, the gravel track bleaches to clay the color of sun-bleached bone. By mid-morning, the sun stands overhead, a bright nail hammered into a cloudless vault. Lunch is sparing. 2 dates, a strip of goat jerky, 6 swallows of water, sipped slow as prayer. Hassan insists we add a pinch of salt to each water skin to replace what the sun steals. Hassan tells us to wrap damp veils across nose and mouth. Drink air, not fire, he says. We obey. The cloth smells of rose water from Kerman and reminds me for one tender heartbeat of Mother S. laundry hung above the Venetian courtyard. A wall of sand roars up from the western horizon, turning day to ochre dusk. The temperature drops 10 degrees in a breath. We huddle against the camel's leeward sides, cloaks wrapped tight. Sand needles prick cheeks, ears, neck. The The Suna red gold coin smeared with ash sinks beneath the salt rim. We press on another hour to make use of the lingering glow, then pitch camp on a patch of hard pan free of salt spikes. Venice quiet still holds the hush of water and far bells. This desert hush is so complete it seems to press against the eardrums. I imagine if I spoke aloud, the sound would fall straight to the ground and shatter. The caravan weaves among them in reverent quiet. Some columns topple with soft sighs as the camel's breath warms their bases. Uncle hums tunelessly, perhaps to keep the mind awake. A shallow depression cradles a thin pond, only knee-deep but cold and sweet. Camels kneel and drink long. We dip skins, splash faces, rinse cracked hands. The taste is pure miracle. The caravan spurs its weary legs. Each mile the salt thins, replaced by gravel dotted with scrub. Hassan removes his veil and inhales the distant scent of water and life. The desert disowns no man today, he says. Sun climbs, but today its heat feels less cruel, as though the desert, having tested us, now allows safe passage. Yet I feel its mark upon me, Uranus, at the edges of thought, a quiet learned from silence itself. I suspect that long after I return home, when the lagoon bells ring and children shout across Rialto, I will sometimes close my eyes and hear nothing at all, and in that nothing find the voice of the desert still speaking, as patient and boundless as the salt under an endless sky. By midday we crest a last ridge and see, far below, a ribbon of green hugging a lazy river. Merve, a cool scent, rides the morning air-wet clay. Crushed mint, something sweet I cannot name. Hassan trades a comb of honey for a basket of small green apples. Their crisp bite snaps with cold juice that reminds me of lagoon mornings in spring. The children follow us to the low mud brick watchtower that marks the true edge of Merve. Father calls it the Queen of Cities, though many queens have worn the crown and many kings have shattered it. Each crest we top offers a wider view, until, at last, the plain unfurls like a faded carpet refreshed by rain. Rows of pomegranate, tall cottonwood sentinels, wheat fields shimmering pale gold. Yet life floods through the breach gates, as though war were a bad joke long forgotten. Carpet merchants unroll red fields of wool on wooden racks, coppersmiths' hammer bowls that ring like temple bells. Spice boys toss handfuls of saffron in little orange clouds to prove purity. We move slow, letting the camels drink the criers' shouts and drum beats like water. The river that feeds them all glints in lazy coils, a silver thread stitched across the tawny cloth of the steppe. Father uses a tin cup to pour water over my head. It streams down neck and spine, dragging dust and fear with it. I laugh, and he laughs, and for a heartbeat we are boys on the lagoon again. I count heartbeats between breaths. The number grows, proof of thinning resolve. Hassan breaks the hush with sudden laughter. Hassan tells a story of a lost Persian prince whose lover turned into a salt statue rather than leave the desert. Uncle counters with a tale of Saint Anthony wandering in Egyptian waste, talking with beasts. The stories braid across the firelight, weaving old worlds with new until distinction fades. There, he says, pointing east. In the distance, a line of tamarisk shrubs rises, their dull green tiny but unmistakable against the salt. Life means water. Water means survival. One breaks inches from my stirrup, crashing into a drift of powder that billows like white smoke. I find the stallion constellation and trace its arc. Its nose points northeast, just as Hassan taught. I picture Kublai Khan's palace somewhere beyond that edge of sky, shimmering like another mirage I will not reach until my patience outlasts distance and doubt. Hassan drives iron pins and ties the camel's knee ropes. Camels know the drill. They kneel without complaint and accept loads. Father hands me a flat loaf smeared with honey. I eat as we move. The sweetness anchors my thoughts when my legs threaten mutiny. The salt crust glows under starlight like frost. Each footstep sparks tiny flashes where quartz chips grind beneath leather. Father carves a small cross in the crust, a plea for safe rest. Supper is rice, boiled in brackish water, thickened with raisins. The rice tastes of metal, but the raisins burst with honeyed life, and I chew them slowly, eyes half closed, grateful for each small joy. My mouth fills with grit in spite of the veil. Stars ignite in layered tears, some white, some cold blue. A red planet hangs over the south, bright as a coal at the bellows tip. We spread our mats close together for warmth, camels cupped around us like a living windbreak. The animals chew cud in slow, wet rhythm, their breath steaming into the hard air. Hassan pours tea, sweetened with linden honey, 2 mouthfuls each, fragrant as distant gardens. The warmth pools in my stomach, spills into limbs, softens the ache behind my eyes. I press forehead to my camel's flank, feeling its heart pound like a drumhead as the beast groans low and stubborn. Minutes stretch like softened wax. At last the storm rolls over us, muttering away toward the east, leaving the sky strangely clear and the ground patterned with new ripples like frozen waves. The memory fades as quickly as it formed. Heat leaves no room for softness. Uncle silently thanks St. Christopher, patting the saint's medal beneath his tunic. I look back. Our tracks are gone, swallowed whole. The only sign we came this way is the staff cloth on Hassan's pole and the turning of the constellations above. The salt stings my lips, but when I close my eyes and listen to the far-off hush of heated wind, I feel the minerals stitching my muscles back together. Father dozes upright, chin on chest. Uncle checks his camel's hooves for heat cracks. I watch mirages bloom beyond the Shida, line of impossible blue pools that tremble like candle flames. We move again when the afternoon wind rises. It blows from the northwest, gritty and hot, but at least it moves the air. Clouds of dust devils appear, then twisting columns that dance 200 paces off the caravan's flank, bobbing like playful spirits. They rise, spin, collapse, and reform, always watching us, never crossing our path. Hassan counts them under his breath. When the number reaches 7, he halts and orders us to kneel beside our camels. Storm sibling, he warns. A bigger wind is coming. It arrives without mercy. Hassan laughs softly and shakes sand from his beard. Desert greeting, he says. Father coughs until tears run. Evening bleeds across the plain. Night in the lute is an act of sorcery. The heat drains away so fast, the air feels carved of glass. Before sleep, I lie flat and listen to the silence. It is different from city silence. We rise 2 hours before dawn to walk in cool darkness. Mid-morning of the second day brings a field of what Hassan calls ghost trees, columns of wind-sculpted salt standing taller than a man, pale and twisted in shapes that resemble arms, raised in prayer or surrender. By late afternoon, water skins grow light. We ration to half gulps, lips split, tongues thicken, thoughts slow. We reach the tamarisk belt at sunset. Campfire that night is larger. Dead tamarisk burns clean with a bright orange flame. The third dawn shows a bruise purple line of hills to the northeast, the edge of the loot. Relief crashes through me so fierce, I nearly topple from the saddle. Father grips my arm, steadying both of us. We descend, step by careful step, leaving the empty plain behind like a bad dream, dissolving in daylight. The green begins as rumor long before it claims the eye. We reach the outer farms by mid-morning. Women hoe irrigated furrows, while children cluster around our camels, laughing at the animals' stitched muzzles. The city walls show scars, great bites, taken by catapult stones, scorch marks where siege ladders once burned. The storm arrives without thunder, only a low moan that rises until it fills the chest. The horizon darkens, turning copper, then black. Sand lifts as if by unseen hands, swirling into columns that dance and merge and finally blot out the sun. Everything is changed. The landscape now rolls in fresh dunes, our footprints erased. It is as if night had swallowed us and spit us out in another world. Stars appear one by one, brighter here than in any sky I recall. The Milky Way arches so clearly it seems a path of crushed glass a traveler could walk if only he dared step off the earth. A faint line of garnet stains the eastern edge of the sky. With it, life stirs. We move. Uncle traces constellations with fingertip, naming them in traders' Latin and in Persian. I repeat each softly, stitching sky to memory. We dig where the tallest bush stands, 2 hands deep. The sand grows cool. Another hand, and it becomes damp. We shout, laughing. Hassan thrusts a wooden ladle into the hollow, waits, and brackish water seeps upward. We give the camels first drink, then mix a little water with date paste for ourselves. The mirage persists, yet the trees grow clearer with each hour. The page trembles with fatigue, yet the words come steady. We have crossed the singing sands and found water. We leave in darkness so deep the camels move like shadows detached from their bodies, guided only by the soft percussion of their own padded steps and the occasional low whistle from Hassan. The heat has not yet risen. The air tastes almost sweet. Each stone sings under hoof, a tiny clink that punctuates our slow, rhythmic advance. A caravan passed this way not long ago, perhaps a week, perhaps 2. Hassan kneels, touching the fabric, muttering a prayer of safe passage for unknown travelers. Scrub cedar appears, then clusters of low tamarisk, then almost miraculously a creek, no wider than a man's stride, rushing clear water over smooth stones. We kneel and drink without boiling, letting the chill bite our tongues. Above the creek, the hills open into the first terraces, where millet waves like tiny gold banners. Children's laughter drifts on the wind. We see them a moment later, barefoot, chasing each other with reed whistles, their surprise giving way to shy grins when father raises a hand in greeting. We follow the tracks southeast, where the valley steepens, and there between sunburned stone pillars stands the gate of an abandoned watch station. The mud brick walls still bear faded Chinese characters, though the wooden roof has collapsed and the inner doorway yawns like an empty mouth. Noon brings stifling heat. We pass beneath a sky bleached almost white, and the ridge crawls nearer, now jagged enough to catch sunlight in broken teeth. Uncle strings a thread between 2 crumbling posts and hangs our spare tunics so they float in the small desert wind, their shifting shapes fooling the eye into seeing guards on patrol. Even ghosts fear a soldier, he says, half smiling. The idea calms me more than the warmth of the fire. Father tells a story to keep spirits alive, something about a miracle on St. Mark's Day, but his voice is low, and its words are snatched by the wind before they reach my ears. I only catch the shape of faith in his tone, and that is enough. A faint breeze travels from somewhere unseen, enough to lift the edge of my cloak and stir the tufted ears of the camels. I watch horizon lines for any change anything at all until, at last, a low ochre ridge appears, delicate as a painting brushed in a single stroke. Hassan calls it a tongue of the Dunhuang foothills, a promise that our days of endless sand are numbered. The pool behind us holds the last reflections of the stars, a mirror we must forsake if we are to meet the wall of the great Khan before another year turns. In my mind, I catalog the blessings we carry. 8 full water skins, 2 sacks of dried apricots, flints snapped sharp, new soles stitched on worn boots, and an unspoken measure of hope that clings like dew to every thought of the road ahead. The desert taught patience, and the wind carried our names, yet left us whole. I close the journal, extinguish the light, and lie back on woven mat. Through fronds, I see a single bright star rising eastward, toward lands spoken of in whispers. Jade Gate, Dunhuang, Shangdu. Sleep gathers like cool water over hot sand, and I let it carry me onward. At sunset, we reach the first palm, its trunk cool to the touch. Water glints in a crescent pool. Frogs chirp like tiny hand drums. The oasis welcomes us with scents of wet mud and flowering fern. We kneel, give thanks, and drink. Salt clings to lips, but relief hums through the camp like plucked harp strings. At midday, we find a dried riverbed, strewn with bleached driftwood, remnants of some long-forgotten flood. They radiate it back, making the air shimmer. Boot soles soften. I smell leather cooking. We break camp, fill skins with the bitter well water, and step onto a new stretch of sand flatter, wider, empty, beyond measure. Hassan claims 3 days remain until the next oasis. Father marks the words in our log. We walk, trusting compass and guide, and the faint music of the dunes. Hassan directs us to walk on torn burlap strips to spare feet and hooves. Camels adapt, stepping lightly. Father breaks a twig, it crumbles to powder. Yet beneath the brittle crust, a single green thread runs, stubborn life waiting for a future rain. He shows it to me. Hope, he says, smiling, then tucks the fragment into his journal. Hassan sets a small brass compass on the sand, waits for the needle to settle, then chooses a new bearing. We follow in silence, each man nursing private thoughts, some of Venice canals, others of distant family names I will never know. We drop veils over faces, kneel beside camels, wrap arms around their legs to anchor ourselves. This time, shooting stars streak westward, tracing paths we have already crossed. I watch them burn out, small sparks snuffed in vast dark, and feel both fragile and infinite. Sleep comes quickly, heavy as stone. It starts as a faint hum beneath the soles, like bees droning inside hollow wood, then grows to a low musical note that swells and decays as wind skates across dune slopes. Hassan says the desert holds trapped voices. Father says it is only vibration of countless grains, yet the taste feels rich because hunger grants it weight. We speak little, the desert asks for quiet. At last the fire dies, and each man slides beneath rough blanket, letting the sand's residual warmth bleed into tired limbs. My mind drifts between waking and dream, replaying the storm in gentle edits, until wind becomes merely breath, darkness a soft cloak. Either way, the sound drifts over the caravan like a lullaby, surreal and oddly soothing after the storm's fury. Grains sting cheeks, slip between teeth, grind beneath eyelids like ground glass. Inside my scarf, the air smells of wool and fear, sounds of wind and heartbeat mixing until they become one endless roar. The storm passes as swiftly as it came. Sunlight returns, muted at first, then brash as a symbol. Toward evening the sand begins to sing. We make camp in the lee of a crescent dune, using its curve to block the night wind. Dinner is meager handful of barley boiled in camel milk, a sliver of salted goat. We rise well before dawn. The air is so still, I hear blood in my ears. Camels groan, stand, shake sand from coats. Hour after hour we push east, sun climbing, heat swelling. Late afternoon brings a change. The sand grows coarse again, peppered with black stones that absorb heat like iron kettles. Just before dusk, a line of tamarisk appears, low shrubs, trembling in a barely felt breeze. Their roots promise a shallow water vein. Night falls without storm. The desert sky blooms again. Morning dawns pale gold. By the second afternoon, the horizon bruises blue-green. Dust haze lifts to reveal distant tree crowns, wavering like ships on heated sea. That night, under palm shade, I write by firefly lantern. Night settles gently over the oasis, but our departure comes long before the palms finish whispering their cool night song. The first light finds us already far beyond the grove, moving east across sand that glows the color of old copper. By mid-morning, the ground beneath us shifts again. The sand thins, scattered with pale stones like grains of coarse salt tossed by a giant's hand. When the sun edges west, the ridge suddenly spills into a shallow valley littered with scraps of deep blue silk caught on thorny shrubs. We camp inside the ruined station that night. Stars burn overhead without competition from torch or lamp. At dawn we walk again, and with each hour the land rises. By dusk we reach Dunhuang. Lanterns glow along narrow streets like captive fireflies, illuminating prayer banners that flutter from pagoda eaves. The city smells of sandalwood smoke, steamed dumplings, and horse sweat. We secure lodging in a courtyard in whose brick walls enclose a single persimmon tree heavy with fruit. After washing trail dust from skin and hair, we eat bowls of hand-pulled noodles slicked with sesame. The taste anchors me in the waking world after so many nights spent drifting between sand, stars, and dream. Morning brings us to the edge of the Mogao caves. Monks in saffron robes guide us past tall wooden doors into chambers where Buddhist saints glow in torchlight. Colored pigments bright as spring fields. Some figures smile, others weep. One gazes outward and seems to meet my eyes even across 700 years of silence. I whisper a private vow to carry these images home in memory, so that people who may never walk this far can still know their beauty. We leave Dunhuang behind as the sun climbs. Our path now skirts beacon towers of the great wall square guardians, spaced like punctuation across rolling hills. Some are abandoned, mud bricks crumbling. Others hold troops who peer down with cautious faces, but relax when Hassan shows our papers bearing the Il Khan's seal. Beyond the wall, grasslands stretch until they merge with sky. I taste the wind and sense change. By the third day, we ride among herds of wild horses whose manes ripple in unbroken waves of chestnut and coal. They move together, turning in perfect arcs whenever a distant hawk shrieks overhead. Father watches them with eyes bright as boyhood, whispering that no canal nor piazza carries such freedom. Uncle charts the stars each night. They draw new shapes here, more sprawling and low. We make camp beside a shallow lake alive with reeds and white cranes. Their calls echo over still water that mirrors dawn like polished bronze. Hassan cooks a porridge of millet sweetened with apricot. Its simple warmth tells my stomach we have truly left the desert behind. Somewhere to the north lies Shangdu, summer seat of the Great Khan. Each sunrise pulls us closer. 4 days out, a dust plume appears on the horizon, 2 large 4 caravans, 2 ordered for storm. Mongol horsemen arrive like a rush of wind, surrounding us but not drawing steel. Their leader, clad in lamb fur hat and iron scale vest, studies our seal, then breaks into a grin. "Merchants from the west," he says in halting Persian. "The Khan has called for wonders. You may pass." He assigns 2 riders to guide us northeast. We travel faster now, horses instead of camels. My body aches at first, but soon finds the rhythm. Fields of silver grass sway around us. Occasional clusters of Gersfeld tents dot the plain, smoke spiraling from roof holes. We share fermented mare's milk with a family whose small children hide behind poles, peeking at our beards and foreign cloaks. Laughter needs no translation. It settles around us like warm wool. On the 7th evening after Dunhuang, the air cools suddenly, carrying the scent of pine. Mountains rise in the far north, faint silhouettes lit by last sunlight. Our guides point and speak one word: Xanadu. My chest tightens. All the stories heard across continents gather in that single name. Yet the sight is still only promise, hazy as a mirage at sea. We sleep lightly. Before dawn, our guides rouse us, and we ride the final stretch. First light reveals rolling parkland, stands of cedar and birch, streams flashing like silver ribbons. Then, as the sun climbs, palace roofs appear not all at once, but in shimmering pieces, a golden finial here, a sweep of red lacquer eaves there. Then the white walls, broad as river cliffs. Mist rises from surrounding meadows, turning the scene to breath and dream. We reach the outer gate. Guards in silk-lined armor bow, astonished at the wear on our boots and the length of our journey. Within, broad avenues of packed earth lead to halls painted in lapis and vermilion. Every beam glitters. Every doorframe is carved with dragons whose scales catch dawn like shards of sunrise. We dismount. My legs buckle, half from miles, half from awe. Father grips my shoulder, steady, proud. Uncle murmurs a prayer in Latin, then in Persian, covering all gods who might have guided us. A court herald approaches, his robe a field of stitched cranes. He unfurls a scroll, reads our names, and beckons us forward. We cross a stone threshold in silence, broken only by distant bells and the soft rustle of silk banners heavy with dew. Inside the forecourt, the air smells of cedar, resin, and jasmine. Streamers drift overhead, caught in slow morning breezes. Servants kneel to offer cups of clear water, scented with chrysanthemum. I drink. The fragrance lifts the dust from my lungs and replaces it with a calm I have never known. When I set the cup down, I realize the journey's first half is complete. The desert storms, the mirrored salt flats, the fever that nearly stole my breath all lie behind. Ahead waits the great Khan, whose empire spans horizons broader than the sea. For one heartbeat, I want only a quiet room and a soft bed. Then the herald gestures again, and I step forward into the cool shadow of the palace corridor, ready to witness wonders and speak of lands my younger self could scarcely imagine. That night, I sit beneath a pavilion roof, writing by lantern. Palace musicians play a gentle air on bamboo pipes nearby. Fireflies rise from damp grass, swirling in green constellations that mirror the stars. I dip my brush, breathe, and let ink describe what words can scarcely hold. We have reached Shangdu. It is a city of painted light, and the world has grown larger than a lifetime.